Finally going to do the video today that people have been asking me to do a couple months now about my roof rack since the whole disaster happened. I wanted to do this video just to share my personal story and experience, what I went through, the mistakes I made, and all the tips, tricks, things I learnt along the way. So hopefully I can help educate other people on this topic, because I really think it's a super important one. And there's definitely a safety issue there. In no way, shape or form am I professional or qualified in this area. don't have any education or specific skills. I'm not an engineer. It's just my personal experience and opinion and things I've sort of picked up. Whole rooftop falling off now. We've got fires coming towards us. If you watch all my videos and follow along what I do, then you definitely would have seen what happened to me already, but I'll quickly re-explain the incident. I was on a holiday to Fraser Island, a four-wheel driving camping holiday back in November, late last year. On my four-wheel drive, I had a Rhino flat rack platform mounted up there, and then on top of that I had the Drifter 1.2 Wildlands tent mounted, along with a Ironman awning. It was only our first day on the island, and when I was driving down the beach after a bit of exploring, I started noticing a little bit of a weird rattle coming from my roof. I thought, oh, I better pull over and investigate, have a look as you do before anything happens. And we're only starting to slow down. We're taking this corner coming up off the beach, only doing 3 or 4 kilometers an hour. It was actually pouring rain at this time as well. And the next minute I just hear this almighty bang, and I don't know, for some reason in my head I just knew straight away what it was after I was hearing that bit of weird noise. I just hadn't pulled up sooner because it was pouring rain, and it's like, oh, we'll get up off the beach in the bush here. Anyways, the whole roof rack, rooftop tent, awning, everything slid off the entire car and landed next to me on the sand, upside down in the pouring rain on the first day of our holiday. As you can imagine, it was quite the stressful experience and a bit of a disaster. Definitely not what you want to happen to you when you're away on a week-long trip on the first day. Long story short, we just put it in the back of the ute. I had a tub on then, and transported around the island in the back of the ute and dumped it off at base camp of a morning, and then we just head out exploring during the day. Now, it was a failure with the roof rack. The roof rack is riveted into the roof. As I said, it's a Rhino rack. They rivet them in using, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's about 4.5 mil aluminium rivets. So they're pop rivets. They're just your basic pop rivets, but I'm not sure on the exact size, but they're only sort of a smallish medium size. And then they track mount it. It was track mounted using 7 of those rivets on either side of your roof, a total of 14 rivets. And basically those rivets just ripped up out of the car metal, and then the whole thing came off, which left me with holes in my roof, scratches in the roofs, quite a bit of damage up there. The first question I'll answer, which people have said, is, well, the installers must have done something wrong. It wasn't installed properly. I'm sure it wasn't meant to be installed using pop rivets. People have said various things. They were installing it according to Rhino's instructions. That is how they request it be installed. You can look up the instructions for the mounting of that roof rack. So they installed it exactly according to instructions, which they obviously have to do for legal, warranty, insurance reasons, all those different things. I filmed that whole video on my YouTube channel. I dropped that link down below. You can have a look at the installation of that if you want. We've worked out that, as far as we are aware, it was installed correctly based on watching back the video and seeing that it was all done according to Rhino's instructions. That leaves the question, well, what happened? What went wrong? Why did it do that? Why did it rip the pop rivets out of my roof? Pretty quickly, people started mentioning to me about load ratings of your roof rack. You know, how much weight can you put up on your roof rack? I said, oh yeah, I was well within the limit. When I bought it, it said 100 kilos rated. Cool, 100 kilos I can put up there. I had the Drifter rooftop tent, 51 kilos, Ironman awning, talking about 6 to 8 kilos. So I'm coming in under 60 kilos, you know, maybe 57-ish, 58 kilos. Well within my 100 kilo load limit, right? All good. But then people started saying to me, wait, hang on, you actually have a off-road load rating as well. And I thought, off-road load rating? I've never heard of this in my 4 or 5 years of owning roof racks and four-wheel driving. Started doing some investigating and digging onto Rhino's website. you know, I just sort of went through Rhino because obviously I owned a Rhino roof rack. And then it turns out there's actually many different load ratings, which I'll take responsibility for not knowing. I really wish I had been told this when I was bought it, or it was made more clearer to me. That would have been unreal, but it wasn't. I'll take responsibility that I didn't research or investigate and find out all these different load ratings. But we'll jump on the Rhino website here now. I've got the laptop, and we'll run through the load ratings and how they work. That way I can teach people. Here we are on the Rhino website. Obviously I'm using the Rhino website because that was what I had, a Rhino rack. They actually have a load rating calculator on there. It is a little bit hard to find, but if you just Google up load rating calculator, then it should pop up for you. So we scroll down here, up the top of the article, they got some stuff, a few different things here which I'll highlight. It says on-road refers to the load rating of a vehicle when it is traveling on a sealed road, meaning just a normal tarred road. Then you have a static rating. A static rating is when the vehicle is stationary, so how much weight you can have up there when the vehicle is stopped. That way, if you have a rooftop tent up there, you can serve a couple people up there and you stay within your limit. And then you have an off-road load rating, and this is what I was unaware of, and this is where the topic gets a little bit complicated and interesting. They have an off-road load rating, which is what your roof rack can handle when you are on a non-sealed road. So when you're hitting corrugations or bumps or various things off-road, which I find interesting because some of the streets that around my house are that bad, it's nearly like driving off-road down the main streets anyway. And then there's another important point here to know. It says it is important to remember that the on-road rating does not take into consideration the weight of the roof racks. According to our instructions, the on-road rating plus weight of the roof racks is called roof allowance, or I've actually seen it called your cargo allowance as well. If you buy an accessory or a holder, then you have to include that weight in the items as well. So you have to include everything that's up on your roof, including the weight of the roof rack. Alright, here we go. Let's use that calculator here. So scroll down, we'll select a Nissan Navara 2019 model, dual cab one next. Enter your specified vehicle roof loading in kilograms. 100 kilos is what my roof is rated to. Now keep in mind, that will change model to model. Mine is the ST, it has no roof rails. For example, the STX model in the Navara D23s, it has roof rails. They have a lower rating. I'm fairly sure they are only rated to 57 kilos. So you really have to look up specific to your vehicle and your model what the load rating is of your roof. That's very important. You have to understand the manufacturer has a load rating for your vehicle, for what the structure can handle up there, as well as safety when it comes to stability tests, rolling, various things like that. Please select your Rhino system. There's quite a few here, but I can find mine in amongst them all. So we got, mine's the Pioneer platform with legs. There it is there, it's the bigger one. We go calculate. Okay, now I've got a few numbers here. It can be a little bit confusing, so I'll try and run you through them as best I can. We've got an on-road load rating, which is just 100 kilos. That's what I typed in. I didn't really need that to calculate that for me. Then it's saying my roof rack is 23 kilos. Then it's saying on-road, 77 kilos mine can handle. You've got 100 kilos minus the 23. 77 kilos you can handle up there on road. But it says, special note, off-road load rating can be calculated by using the formula provided in your Rhino rack fitting instructions, which I don't actually have, but that's alright. I found on the website here. This is a bit painful to find, but I did find it. Go here to load ratings explain, and once again it has here your static, your on-road, your off-road, your cargo ratings. A lot of different terms here, which is where it gets very confusing. I personally think anyway. Some people who may be smarter than me would be onto this real quick. Alright, here they have given us a little diagram with a calculation to get our off-road cargo rating. So we'll go our vehicle load rating, 100 divided by 1.5 will give us about 66 off-road load rating. But then you have to understand we've put our roof rack up there too. So now we've got to minus that 23 kilos, brings it down to 53 kilos. And that's where I was missing, well, I take responsibility, that's where I was unaware and I was unfortunately not told. I was thinking I had a roof rack rated to 100 kilos when I was going forward driving, and I didn't. I had a roof rack rated to 53 kilos of weight that I could put on there when I was going forward driving. Meaning, unfortunately, I was 3 or 4 kilos over my load limit. And people can also say the argument, which is a valid argument, that I had a rooftop tent up over there which had a little bit of overhang either end as well, which created that bit extra stress and movement, which I can understand. So we've sort of run through there the load rating specific to the Rhino platform I was running in my vehicle. Now it's extremely important that you need to work out those calculations for yourself. If you have a Rhino one here, then you'll be able to sort of run through what I did, or if you're running a different brand, you'll need to work out your calculations according to that brand and making sure you stay within your vehicle manufacturing limit as well. It comes back to I was in the wrong because I had overloaded my roof rack by only 3 or 4 kilos, but it still puts me in the wrong. Now, I'll run through what Rhino said about this. They contacted me because someone who works in their offices had seen the incident, because I got a bit of a following on Instagram. Someone had seen it, and for that reason they'd got in contact with me. I'll put the message up on the screen here now. It's basically just saying that I was overloaded, very dangerous. They take no liability, no responsibility or anything whatsoever for what happened. They said they would offer to replace the mounting system at no charge, which I sort of mistook. That was once again my mistake. I mistook for the fact that they would replace the whole system because my platform was damaged. It was torn, scratched, ripped from the fall off the roof. So I had in my head they were saying they replaced the whole thing, but it actually said we will only replace the mounts. They said they'd give me the new backbone mounting system, which I said, yeah, I'll give that a go. For me personally, I would think they would have offered, you know, a little bit of a sorry to what happened on your holiday, or, you know, what can we do to help you out given you're on there on Fraser Island stuck in this situation. But that was obviously their choice to just sort of, yeah, you know, a bit of a legal requirement there on their behalf and a bit of a safety issue, but that is what they said about the incident. And then yeah, there's a little bit of confusion because only the mounting turned up for. I said, oh, hang on, where's my platform? And they said, no, we didn't actually say we'd give you a new platform. And I said, well, I kind of need one, mine's broken. They then went on to say, once you have the vehicle repaired, so, you know, basically said, I need to sort it out myself, and they sort out the repairs, the damage, it's all sort of on me. And then they will supply the fitment of the latest backbone mounting, and I can put my old platform back up on there. I said, oh, I kind of need a new platform, mine's all damaged. I'll give it a miss and I'll see what else I can find out there. After some research and investigating and looking into the matter, I decided to go with a front runner. To me, they're an absolutely brilliant roof rack. They're super solidly mounted, and I feel very safe that it's not coming off anytime soon. Now, I'll just explain how the Rhino rack I had on before was mounted. It was pop riveted into the roof, as I said. It was actually pop riveted here outside the cant rails, or outside your water channels. And the main thing there is this is thin body metal. It's only about 1 mil thick, even less. I don't know what the exact material is, tin, steel, whatever it is, but it's quite thin with small rivets into it. Meaning for me, what I can personally see is you've got a smallish rivet into a thin metal, which I can see why it ripped back out. There's just not enough surface area that those pop rivets are holding onto, and that surface is only very thin, which is what I can personally bring the reason onto of why it ripped back out. Now, I did speak to one of Rhino's engineers, and I said, what do you think's happened? He said, I don't know. He couldn't really give me an answer of what happened. He said he finds it strange that mine is ripped out, given that I was only a few kilos over. He said they try and keep it range well within so that those things don't happen if people do accidentally go a few kilos over. But yeah, mine did rip out. There wasn't really a conclusion that was come to for an exact reason. So I thought to myself, well, maybe it's just, you know, a bit of an unlucky incident. Maybe I was the only one. But I sort of put the word out and had a bit of a search around the internet to see if there was any other information available out there in regards to this topic. I started getting, I won't share them all. I'll just share them. You can decide yourself. I won't so much give my opinion on them. But I'll just share some stories that I have come across on the internet of roof racks where people have had problems with them. First video here I came across is of a backbone system mounted one. So this one was actually mounted inside the water channel. I should have said that earlier. The water channel is actually much thicker, or the cant rail. That's where all your metals overlap. That's about 5 to 6 mil of metal steel material in there, so that's much thicker. But here's one here where you can see, this is a bit of a story here, his came loose. I think this one was on Fraser Island as well. And then this is what he had to say about the incident. He said he went onto the island at low tide, ran up in a smooth as sand, smoother than the freeway, top camp and unloaded roof. The rivets broke in the middle of my trip with nothing on the roof. Now he said because he had a photo on his Instagram of it loaded for that trip earlier, which contained 3 jerry cans, Max Trax awning and 3 fishing rods. And he says the fix was 1 bolt either side and bigger 6 millet rivets in the rest. So he's fixed his by putting a bolt through the roof and some bigger rivets in there. Here's another one. It says, hey Tyler, this is a message someone sent me. It said, hey Tyler, I have a Rhino platform on a Fort Everest which literally blew off as I passed a truck coming from the opposite direction on the highway. The wind got under it and took it off. Mine was only held down by 4 clamps, clamped down onto existing rails. So that was, maybe, that's what I said before, maybe that was one that was mounted on the rails. That's actually been blown up and lifted off the rails. And I actually came across another one. I've got quite a few stories. I won't share them all, just share a few, just so we can sort of get a bit of an idea of what's happening. Here's another one. It says, how good is it when the wind pressure from the road train out west rips the pop rivets clean out at 110. Here's another story of someone's that was blown off as well. Soon to get hearing a few stories of these blown off. So I saw this one and I said, hey, is this a Rhino Racker? And I started having, I said, no, this is actually Yakima, is it? Yakima. Just setting up, finished pegging everything down, one decent gust of wind, lifted it up. Thought it would just snap the awning, which it did, but took the rack with it somehow as well. And then I said, do you know how it's mounted? And they said pop rivets. So a lot of these cases do seem to be coming from what I can see here, is awnings that are mounted using the pop rivet method. Here's another picture here. I came across, spoke to this guy. So he had a awning, looks like, is it 3 or 4 Max Trax up there? 3 or 4 recovery tracks and his spare wheel. And it came off his roof while he was forward driving. So he said that was a pop riveted Rhino one as well. So it literally slid back off his whole roof and fell into his tub there. As you can see from the pictures, unfortunately causing a fair bit of damage on the way too. I won't go on for too long, but there is quite a few stories of these coming off. From what I can personally see, the main issue of where they're coming off is with the pop riveted ones. I've seen the odd one where it is the riv nuts as well. What is causing this, I can't be 100% sure, whether or not there's installation errors along the way there. As I spoke before about using small pop rivets in thin car metal, not enough to spread the surface area, spread the load, and it's just tearing back through them. As I said earlier, I've gone to the front runner rack now, and I really like them. They're awesome. They've got heaps of cool accessories to go with them, and they're super solidly mounted. These are actually bolted through the roof, and rather than outside here where the thin metal is, they've put it through the cant rail or through the water channel. And this is just according to front run instructions. This wasn't some specialized method we did. 4 big bolts on either side. I think they're M8 bolts from memory. I'll put some pictures up. 2 big nut plates underneath, which then spread that surface load, and you're through a lot thicker metal. I'm quite confident that's not gonna come out. And then what I really like about the front runner ratings is they are quite simple. You have a static rating, a stationary vehicle, which is 300 kilos for this model of rack, which means as it's parked here, I can safely put 300 kilos on there. You just have to make sure that is within Nissan's manufacturing load limits. I can't actually find the static rating, but from memory, it's around the 250 mark, then you'd have to minus your platform. So you still got to make sure you do the right things. And then the rating for this driving anywhere, there's no on-road or off-road rating. It is just a one simple rating of 150 kilos for this rack. Rated to 150 kilos off-road, meaning I'm thinking, well, you know, they're quite strong, they're quite well mounted. But I do still have to stick within Nissan's manufacturing rating. So I still have to do my, okay, I can only do 100 kilos minus the weight of this, which is around that 23 again. So off-road, I can put 77 kilos up there, which to me means I can fit quite a bit of stuff up there. That's the one I've personally gone to go with, the main reason being the mounting of them, their load rating, and their strength, and they've got so many accessories to go with them as well. It's super important to work out these load ratings for your roof rack, for your vehicle, and get it right. For example, with my old Rhino rack, we worked out I was a little bit over with the rooftop tent and the awning, but I wouldn't have been over with this front runner one because of the different way that it's mounted. For example, with my previous Rhino one, to stay under that 50 kilo limit, you know, you put 2 jerry cans, an awning up there, you're coming up about that 50 kilos. Max tracks as well, well then you're over. Or if you have, say, an awning, a jerry can, max tracks, and a swag, you'd have to work out the weight of your swag, but you're gonna be getting very close. And then that puts the responsibility back on you for understanding your weights and not overloading your roof rack. And this leads back to there's a bit of a major safety issue that I can see here. To me, in the end, I was quite lucky. Mine came off at a slow speed. No one was seriously injured or hurt. There was no major damage. But I think back to that trip. The day before that, I went about 9 hours down the highway at 110 kilometers. I think to myself, what if my roof rack had have come off coming down that highway and smashed into a car behind me and someone had ended up seriously injured or worse? And I do see this happening everywhere with people overloading their roof racks, and a lot of the time people just don't know. This is where I personally would like to ask companies to make this information more available. Roof rack companies, as well as places that are selling these roof racks. At the time of publishing this video, and I'll mention the Rhino one again because that's the one I've sort of researched into, but this goes for all the roof companies out there. The information is only available on that website when you research into it and do a bit of Google searching, and it is available in the small print of the fitting instructions of your roof rack. I really think this needs to be big print, much more clear in everyone's face for when they're buying a roof rack. And same goes for the companies, the full drive shops that are selling these roof racks. Don't let people walk out the door without very clearly understanding a static rating, an on-road rating, and an off-road rating. Because for me, I would hate to see someone get seriously injured or worse when one of these comes flying off because someone was unaware of their ratings and how much they can safely load on their roof racks. You know, myself, as I said, I just had no idea. I didn't have a clue. I had heard about the 100 kilo rating and that was it. So I really want to see this information, and that's one of the reasons I made this video. Make this information more available to people so that everyone is aware of this. Just like your GVMs of your vehicle. You see people overloading vehicles all the time. You've got an unsafe vehicle and people just don't think about it. They just don't know. I want people to use this video as a little bit of a warning. Now, I'm sure some people are watching this thinking, yeah, mate, I already knew all that. What are you telling me for? But I know that probably 95% of people who I've spoke to are unaware of this. So take this video as a warning and to do your own research. Look into your roof rack, how it's mounted, sort of how strongly it's mounted. Different methods have different strengths. For me personally, I've gone with the bolts through the roof. In my opinion, they're the strongest for what I'm doing, and I can feel safe and confident that my roof rack isn't going to come off and, you know, at the minimal wreck a trip, or at the worst, you know, seriously injure someone or worse. Look into how your roof rack is mounted. You really need to keep a close eye on these. I think they say to check them every few thousand kilometers. Go around, check all your rivets or your nuts or your bolts, check it all, check how it's mounted, and know your load ratings and stay within them. That way, hopefully, we can avoid this happening to people when they're away, when they're on trips, when they're on holidays, when they're driving down the road. And then when it comes to mounting of rooftop tents, that's a big one because a lot of people are mounting rooftop tents these days. I would go for a roof rack that you feel confident and comfortable that is mounted super strongly on your car. So for me personally, I would now feel confident with mine bolted through my roof and I know I'm within that load rating. Or there are plenty of options as well. If you have a wagon, that's better because the load is more evenly distributed across the length of your entire roof and roof rack. Then for example, if you have a ute, I now have mine up on the canopy. The canopy has a super high rating. It's bolted up there through the aluminium, which is much stronger than car metal. I know it's safe, secure, strong up there. Or if you have a ute, a lot of people are putting them in the back of their utes. In the tub mounts, I know one of my mates has one. His tub mount has a 300 kilo rating. It's a nice big steel one. You know it's not going anywhere. And then if you're only mounting a rooftop tent on your roof, it's best to go with bars rather than a platform, some strongly mounted bars, because the platform is only extra weight and you're not using it anyway, so it's only just bringing you closer and closer to being illegal. There's a few other points here to remember. With mine being bolted in, the headliner actually had to get pulled out to get those bolts and those plates through there, so it's an extra few hours work, which is going to cost more money to the person who has to pay for it being installed. For me personally, that's well and truly worth it. to know that you've got a roof rack up there that's super safe, super sound, well mounted. And it still doesn't mean you can just now will put whatever you want up on there and it's all going to be good, because if you go over your vehicle manufacturing limit, you're going to start seeing potential stresses elsewhere. When you're mounting these roof racks with just pop rivets or riv nuts through the top of the roof, it's obviously easier for the installer and less time consuming, less money. That's just going to have to be a personal choice. I've told you what my personal choice is for that matter. I think it's important to get a professional to do as well, who can really get the installation right and knows what they're doing, especially when it comes to things like pulling your headliner or your hoodliner out, because especially in modern vehicles, you've got wiring looms up there, you've got curtain airbags up there. You really need to make sure it gets done right. If you've seen this video and you're concerned about how your roof rack is mounted, I don't want to tell people what they should do, because I don't want to take responsibility for that. It's best if you're worried to maybe talk to someone who is a professional in that area, who can give you some advice on whether they think yours is soundly mounted or whether there may be a way that it can be strengthened slightly. I have heard of people adding in a bolt for it to go through the roof, or adding in some extra riv nuts. That's just something you're going to have to consider and work out there yourself. I don't want to be responsible for that. The other thing I didn't cover was how mine was fixed once I actually had the holes and tears in the roof. I claimed it through insurance, and they basically welded up all the holes and repainted the roof, so it's all nice and good back up there now. There was some damage down the side. It clipped the mirror on the way down. Did a little bit of damage on the door, so that was all fixed up. So did it through insurance, because it ended up being about $4,000 worth or something. Then I was able to remount the front runner one up there, which I feel pretty confident in the way that's mounted. I've seen a few comments going around, why even put a roof rack up on a four-wheel drive? You know, who would want to drill and bolt and pop rivet and everything through their roof? Well, that's unrealistic for a lot of people. A lot of people would want to put their swags, their awning, various gear up there. I think you can do it safely. You just need to be really cautious about the mountings of yours, how you're using it, your load ratings, all those different things. Alright, I think I've covered most of the points there. I'm sure I've missed a few things. I've just sort of tried to cover the main points. Obviously there's a whole lot of information around this. A little bit of a serious video today. My main intention was to just share my personal experience and opinion, what I've learnt along the way, try and educate people and stop this happening to other people as well, because I'd hate to see it happen. I hate to see people's holidays ruined. Hate to see someone seriously injured or hurt. And remember to use this video as just a little bit of a kickstart for you to do a full check over of your roof rack, see how it's all going, check the mounting of yours, what you're comfortable with, what you feel is the strongest, best way to mount it. After speaking with professionals in the area and working out all your different load limits for your roof rack and what you can safely put up there, because I see a lot of people going well over and they don't realize how much the weight rating gets brought down in particular brands when you are going off-roading. So it's just important to be aware of that information. Keep in mind, I'm in no way or shape or form a professional, or what do you say, professional, or keep in mind, in no way, shape or form am I a professional on the topic, or what do you say, have any education. With mine being bolted through the headline, I had to get pulled out to get those bolts. Well, there's a few other points here to remember, especially when it comes to things like pulling your head. A few people say, why even put a four-wheel drive on a roof rack? There's no way I'd put one up there. And working out all your different load and working out all your different load limit. And they don't realize